You're listening to the Getting Social podcast, a keep it real type podcast where we discuss entrepreneurship, marketing, and all kinds of social topics. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Getting Social podcast. I am your host, Jeff Policard, and this is episode number 22. It's not about your presence, it's about your presence. Trust me, this makes more sense if you read it, but I'm pretty sure you know what I mean. These are some of the words uttered by today's guest, Max De La Cruz. He is a father, author, blogger, and host of the Man Cave podcast. In this episode, we get to talk about his wide range of skills, his approach to running his family like a business, and what it even means. You can find some of these answers in his book, Becoming a Cornerstone in the House That Love Built: How to Be a Right-Hand Man to a Pregnant Woman. I think it's safe to say that most of us men should definitely read this book. You can also enjoy a preview in our conversation. So without further ado, it's time to get social. All right, Max. Well, first of all, thank you for being here with me. And judging by what I'm seeing, you are a super busy man. So I appreciate you blessing us with a little bit of your time, man. And it seems that we have a lot in common. So I am looking forward to this a lot. And I know, like, for a fact, we're going to be having a lot of fun on this one.
Yes, so, definitely.
Let's do it, man. And I'm going to start with one question here that caught my attention. And it's about you trading your music microphone for a podcast one. And I've done the same, but a little bit different in my own way, I guess. But anyway, tell us about that story a little bit.
Yeah, well, basically, first of all, thank you very much for having me, man. It's really, really appreciated, really an honor. I've been checking a few, ever since we got in touch with each other. I started checking your podcast, and I love your work. So it's really appreciated that you're having me on here.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes. And so, basically I've been doing music, I think, since I was like 16 years old or something like that. And at a certain point, I think when I got married in my early, around 25, 26, like I started taking this more seriously. Mm-hmm. So I was doing the music thing. But then at one point I found myself, when I got a little older, I found myself like in the show where I was surrounded by, I think it was 17, 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And it was like 2 a.m. And I was like, do I really want to continue to do this? And not necessarily because of the grind that it required, because anything that you want to do, even the podcast, it requires a certain amount of grind. But it's just that I didn't feel connected. Like, I know I have love for the music, but I just didn't feel connected with what was going on at that current moment, the beats, the flows. I didn't understand half of what the other rappers were saying. Like, so I felt a little bit out of touch. So I started thinking to myself, okay, so what do you want to do? Do you still want to do it? But I didn't really feel the drive about it. But one thing that I knew is that I love interacting with people. So when the opportunity or the idea of doing the podcast or launching the podcast came about, at first I wasn't really into it. I was like, because it's actually a friend of mine who told me, oh man, you should really do that, because it was during the month of March. So she was telling me, yeah, maybe it's something that you could try to do and you do it live. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. I'm not sure. But then afterwards I did my first one, second one, third one. And then I was like, yeah, I really like it. So I really took the challenge head on. So now since that day, like, I try to do the podcast every week. I do it actually on Instagram Live. So I do it live with the guests, and I try my best to like ask questions that my guests usually wouldn't be able to wouldn't have the chance to answer on any other interviews that they have. So I'm really trying to put art into the craft of like doing the podcasting and asking the questions.
Kudos to you, man. I don't know how you do it live, man. This is
Listen, my wife would tell you, like, for the first like 15, 20 episodes, I was like so stressed, so nervous. But then afterwards, once I go live, the first few minutes, and then afterwards I'm good. But I find it so stressful, but it's a good stress in a way now. But yeah, it's it's something.
But you know what's funny? What's funny is that when you go live, for some reason, it feels like everything flows a little easier because I think you're less conscious of what you're saying, and it's really authentic and organic because you know that whatever you say, is gonna be there. You can't edit it. Like right now, if
Yeah,
I mess
yeah,
up, I say something stupid, then I can just go back and edit it before I publish this. Live,
that's
you,
it.
you can't do that. So it gives it another, I don't know, man. It just gives it another speed, and this is something that I'm definitely gonna try one time, man. And kudos to you, man.
Thanks. And that's the concept also why I called it the man cave. Because if you're in the man cave, you're with your boys, there's no filter. So I was prepping everybody. I was like, listen, you're joining the man cave. Women are allowed, girls are not. So we're gonna.
Whoa.
It's a conversation between two men in front of the world. So whatever we say because it's the man cave. But nothing ever happened that something went completely left. It's just that we're having a real and authentic conversation. So yeah,
I was actually gonna ask you that if you had any crazy stories happening during any live session.
No, I would think the only thing that happened once in a while, actually, there's two things. The one thing is like technical problems. So sometimes I'm talking to a guest and then boom, the screen freezes. So now I lose them. So now I have to look at the screen and then I'm like, okay, guys, so we're going to try to get him back and I'm trying to fill the time and whatnot. So that happened maybe 2 or 3 times. Now I'm getting the hang of it. So that's okay. And I would say the other thing that happened, I think it happened to me twice, but now I prep my guests before I invite them, is that one of the guests that I had was like a personality, but he thought he was going to he's a personality, but he's also a good acquaintance. Mm-hmm. But I think that he thought that he was going to get just some regular questions. He didn't think, or they didn't think, because the other personality also that happened, he didn't think that I was going to do a lot of research to really dig to get really some good questions. So I was asking questions about things that showed in the newspaper, but he was like, okay, well, you could see in his face that he was taken aback, like, okay, are we doing this? Like, how come you're asking me this? I thought we're just going to chat between boys. So now I prep the people. I tell them, okay, listen, I do my research. So I'm not going to ask you conventional questions. So everything that you might have said in the past, in the previous podcast or 7 years ago, sometimes I scroll back and get a quote from one of my guests from like 5 years ago. And I ask them to break it down for us. So now people know, okay, when you come to the man cave, you're really going to get some good questions. So yeah, that's the only thing now.
Oh man, that's crazy, man. I can't wait. I'm going to be honest, I haven't gotten the chance to watch any of the episodes yet. And I'm so looking forward to do that. I'm not afraid to say that. It's just like recently, I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to invite this guy just not only because I heard not all the entire episode also from Olivier's podcast, but enough to have a conversation with him about it. I'm like, man, I was listening to you and Max this morning, and man, I loved it, and I think I want to interview him too. This is how basically it came about, and then he told me about, you being Haitian, and obviously all that stuff made it even easier. But yes. Yeah, man. So you said you look up your guests enough and you dig enough to be able to ask questions that probably they might not have prepared for or thought that you might even ask such a question. Do you remember, or can you share in any way some of the most daring questions that you've asked to your guests?
Okay, so I had one guest, the one that comes to mind. I had one guest that was in prison, and then he was facing life in jail. And then finally, he beat the federal case, and he turned his life around. And now he made a program about re-entry in the society. So to that guest, I told him his prison number. So I told him his prison number, and I told him, "What does that mean to you?" And he was like, whoa, like, how did you get my prison number? Like, so he was really taken aback. It's like, okay, you really did your research on that. So that's one of the things that I know really surprised him, because it's not an information that he put available for everyone. It's not something that he put on his social media, and you wouldn't know unless you really dig to try to find the information. So it's the type of information like that I'm trying to get out of my guests. So I try to make them not to let's say take them by surprise, but they're not in the unknown. So usually it's something that they've said in the past, and oftentimes once I ask the question, it clicks and they remember where it was from, and then we get on with the conversation.
Man, if that were like a chat conversation or something on like on Facebook, I would put the clapping emoji not only for you for asking that question. It takes a lot of balls to do that, and also a clapping emoji for your guest, man. This is an amazing story just by hearing 1 minute of it. I love those type of stories. Turning his life around and now helping other people get back into society, which is something that is not, I mean, at least in the United States, is not done at all, to my knowledge. It's actually very difficult to come back to society as a productive human being after going to jail, so definitely. It's tough. So kudos to him. Very, very nice story, man. I'm happy to hear, man. So yeah, so I guess maybe one day I'll try to do it live. I'll definitely ask for your advice. I think it should be interesting and definitely create even more, probably more interest from a lot of people.
Or maybe one day I'll invite you so I can interview live, and then you'll see how it is the live reaction when you're being interviewed.
Oh man, well, it would be an honor for sure. Okay, and I'm a little bit scared, with the digging.
Don't be. It'll be all right.
No, but I've been okay, man. I haven't. There's not a lot of dirt, There's not a lot of dirt, so I should be fine.
All good. It's all good, man.
But speaking of that, man, any advice you could give to fellow podcasters, such as myself? Mm-hmm. You have any advice you could give us?
Well, I would say just do it. Uh-huh. It's sometimes we stop ourselves so much. We stunt our growth. We stop our progress. We hinder ourselves. Like we think about so many things that necessarily it's not going to weigh that much in the balance. So, okay, if you want to do a podcast and you have a subject or something at heart, like I said, do it and go full blast with it. Like, you don't think about whoever's better than you. Don't think about, okay, I'm going live, but there's only 2 people. Like, time is such a valuable commodity. If you have 2 people on your podcast that you're talking to, if you're live, give them the real conversation. Make it worth their while. So I did some podcasts where I had like almost close to 100 people that was there. Then I had some podcasts that had like 20 people. But in both situations, I never diluted the excellence and the energy that I was giving. Like, I was never like, oh, okay, well, there's only 20 people and my wife is in there, so really 19. I never did that. So don't stop yourself. Don't block yourself. Don't block your ideas. If you have an idea at heart, do it. And I think we need podcasts that are going to be able to bring substance. That's one of the reasons why I started the podcast, because during the lockdown, the first lockdown in March, everybody was going live on Instagram. And that's when my friend hit me. She was like, listen, like, there's so many lives. I think there is a place for you to bring some substance within all of this. Let's talk sex. Let's talk this. Let's talk that. Like, at one point, we need to be able, if you stand behind a product that you believe in and you put your heart, you put work in it, it's bound to succeed. And our definition of success is to our own opinion. So my success doesn't mean it's the same thing for your success. So just put your heart into it, give you 100%. Don't half-ass it, if I could say it like that. And you're going to see results one day or another.
Yeah, that's great advice. That's common, but it's the best. It's the best advice. And just to start, everybody has failed at some point. If you haven't failed, I don't think you've tried anything.
Exactly.
So everybody fails. Just about just doing it, not quitting, and just taking it seriously. And the advice of performing, whether there's 2 people or 100 or 1,000 people, is also one of the best pieces of advice you could give anyone in almost any situation. We're both musicians and we've both been on stage performing. Yeah. And I've performed in front of 1 person, and sometimes 2 or 3 people, including my manager. So there's been a situation like these, and I don't, if I remember correctly, I don't think I even really approached them the same way. And people would tell me that, say, why were you performing this way? I'm like, well, because there was nobody there. And then, so I didn't have that mindset back then, but now I know how important it is. Whether there's one person watching, that one person could change your life. And there is one story that I know that happened to Kevin Smith. He's a director. He's a filmmaker. He made Clerks. That was his first movie. I might butcher the story a little bit, but for the most part, this is what it is. He maxed out all of his credit cards. He maxed out his mom's credit cards, his friends. They put together $24,000 to make the movie. Mm-hmm. They shot the movie in black and white because it would cost additional money to make it in color. So black and white, they shot it at a convenience store, some city. I don't remember exactly where it was. They shot at night when the convenience store was closed. And then they put everything back together morning time for when, it would open again. So that's how they shot the movie. And then he went to a festival to submit the movie. And they stood outside the theater waiting for people to come and watch the movie. Nobody ever came to watch the movie. Just, sometimes 2 or 3 people, and never really picking up. Until one time there was one guy that was watching it by himself in the middle of the theater. And they were disappointed with, this, just one guy, whatever. And then that one guy ended up putting him in touch with a studio that made a 3-movie deal with him. Not only bought this first one and distributed it, and then after that, they gave him, I think, what's the name of the second movie? I can't remember. But anyway, he made another Dogma, I think it was. And he, his career just basically exploded. The $24,000 that he had in debt, he paid that off really, really fast, paid his mom off, bought his mom a house. And then that's it. That's one of the best success stories I've heard in filmmaking, because I also love filmmaking. And that takes me to the next question. I know it's a long ass intro, but
sorry, man.
The next question is actually,
I didn't know about that.
Huh?
I didn't know about the story about the movie.
Yeah, it's a mind blowing story to me, man. I'm like, I always remember this story because it could happen to anyone, especially if you believe in your craft, And so I saw you, I think today, with a video with yourself, and I asked you, is that your twin? You said no. These are just your videography skills.
Exactly.
So do you have a passion for that too, or just something that you just wing?
Well, I think it's something that I picked up along the way, because amongst like all the crazy ideas that I have, one of the ideas that I had that I suggested to my wife is that we should start a vlog with our family.
Nice.
So at first she was like, "Nah, I'm not sure about that, buddy." And then gradually I convinced her, and then I just started editing our videos. And then push comes to shove, like I started liking doing the editing process. So now I started doing videos for her makeup classes. Then I started doing videos for me. And then just along the way, I just decided to pick up new skills so it could like enhance like either the vlogs or when I do publicity for anything that I want to do. So I think that's one of the things that, along with Photoshop, I think that's one of the skills that I picked up because I was tired of asking people to do something for a project that I was really eager about, and they would just treat it as an option. Like, oh yeah, okay, well, whenever I have time, or no, I don't have time. So I was like a slave to other people's schedules. I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn the graphic design. I'm going to learn to do video editing. So that way I'll be like a one-stop shop, a one-man gang for now. For now, it's manageable. Yeah, eventually, maybe when it's going to grow, maybe I'll have someone to help me out. But yeah, it's just something that I picked up along the way, man.
Man, it's crazy how much in common we have. It's crazy. Same thing. Like, I'm not actually, the story for the Kevin Smith story is from film school. I did go to film school for a couple of years, and it was a good program, but it was nothing like too crazy where I would become like a filmmaker or anything like that. But it gave me the idea of pursuing writing, which I really enjoy doing, screenwriting, and also, not necessarily editing. I actually hate editing, but I'm good at it in a way where the creativity of putting a story together, I think it's amazing. if I have an editor that's super fast, that I could be right behind and tell them, what to do, I love doing that. And I work with people like that and I enjoy it. But the technicality of it does take time to pick up. And I had to do some of it too, because I'm able to do some of it. But like you said, it takes time for you to do it yourself. But it takes more time to ask people favors to do it for you all the time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I learned how to do a little bit of it, including Photoshop, which I use almost on a daily basis, especially in marketing. Not something that I want to do all the time, but if there's something quick that I want to fix or adjust or change or come up with, I do it right on the spot, and then I sometimes even send it to a professional to fine tune it for me, that way, it's legit, because I'm not a graphic designer in any way. I just, like you, I like the concepts, and I'm able to get by.
We do it to get by. Exactly that. Yeah.
But yeah, man, crazy. We have a lot in common. I'm looking forward to getting to know you more for sure, and we'll talk about your book, because that's something that's also part of my plans to read. And I know also how important fatherhood is to you, as well as being the best possible husband you can be. Some of the things that you preach, and knowing also that your show is called The Man Cave. So tell us, share with us here some tips for us fathers and husbands that are listening today.
I think one of the things that is so important is being able to prioritize or schedule family time. At one point, sometimes we were so career driven or project driven that we want to work on something, but then afterwards, maybe sometimes the family takes a hit. And personally, that happened to me while I was working at a job where everybody, it was like the culture of the company for everyone to just work extra and extra and extra. So I was working at home. I was working all day. Then I got home. I was working. Then I took a little break to put the kids to bed. And then I was right back to working. And even on the weekend, I was working. And then my oldest, she was like, well, Daddy, you're always working. And as simple as she said it, and she went about a business. And I was like, it's true. And why am I working so hard for it? Like, I'm not getting no extra. Those emails are still going to add up when I'm going to log back on Monday. It's still going to be there. And everyone is doing it. And I realized that was something that was toxic in the way that I was working. So I think scheduling family time is something that is so important. Like, time is a commodity that we can't get back. So every little thing that I'm doing with my daughters, my son, and my wife, like, my daughters remember that. Like, something that is so simple. Like, we went to get an ice cream and we just went for a walk around the Olympic Stadium. I think my oldest was 2 or 3 at that time. And now she's 6 and she still remembers it. I'm like, well, we just went for ice cream. But to them, it's not the fact that I went to get ice cream. It's just a moment that we spent together. And I think that's so important. We undervalue our presence. Like, sometimes we want to put presents, gifts, we want to put that on top. But your presence is much more important. So I think for fathers, this is a key element for us to make sure that we don't lose focus on. And as being a husband, we need to understand that family. I'm not going to say we need to understand, but I believe that family is like a business, right? So the husband can be like the president, but the wife is the CEO. The wife sees everything, understands everything. So we need to be able to, at time, also show gratitude, understanding what's the love language of our wife. So if it's whether it's present, whether it's just spending time with her and telling her that you enjoy and that you appreciate what she's doing, this is something also that we need to take into consideration. Sometimes our spouse can do something and we're like, oh yeah, well, we have to do it. It had to get done and you did. Okay, fine. But I think a word of encouragement, appreciation can go a long way if it's repeated and done properly. So I think these two things are key elements that we need to think about.
Wow, man, this is crazy good advice. Another clapping emoji for you, man. You've earned them. First thing,
thanks.
No, for sure, man. First thing is the time thing. I hate it when my son tells me that. Well, I think both of them have told me that, but I hate it, and he's right. He's always like, I tell him, I can't now, Jao, I'm working. And he said, but you're always working. And I'm like, oh shit, like this is bad. He's right. Like, what can I do? Like, and I've gotten a little bit better, but it's really, really small. It's a process. This year has been challenging for a lot of people. And the work hours and my work habits have changed also. During the day, the kids are here at home for the most part. I go to the office. I stay home sometimes. I go to the office. It's back and forth. More, work time at the office now than before. So I'm trying to adjust that, and I'm more productive, so I can probably do more, and then not necessarily have to do a lot at home. Try the best that I can for that, and hoping can get better.
Yeah,
I think one piece of advice that I have for us, people like us, is exploring the opportunities of virtual assistants. They can be cost effective and also like huge time savers. It could be some little tedious things that take time. And if you can buy that time, even if it's 10 hours in a month or, 20 hours in a month, that's a lot of time for cheap.
True.
And it's cheap, but you're also helping them because it's a lot for them, and it is valuable. So that's what I've been applying a little bit more of, and slowly getting me into being more productive. But spending time is everything, man. And I think I still do pretty good because that's all I do. Work, family. That's it. I really don't do anything else. So I do.
Likewise.
Yeah. So I feel that. So I do spend some of the time with them regardless, but I think it should still be more and more quality time. And the quality time is where you have to put more emphasis on. And then about the wife thing, I definitely agree with you too, man. And I love your analogy. You might be the president, but she's the CEO, and it is a business, man. It's something that's very hard to say, and I noticed that even when you said it, it's like you're not saying that that's what it should be, but that's what you believe in, and I believe in it too. And if we all look at it at the same time, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not that we're trying to make money or have employees or have work hours and free hours and bathroom breaks and all that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily that, but it's in the way that we have to be operating as a unit.
Exactly.
And
I was hesitant a little bit to say because I know maybe some guys are going to be like, no, it's not a business. Like I wear the pants and all of this and that. But truthfully, like if let's say like your wife goes and you're like, okay, well, where's this and that? Your wife will instantly know, okay, it's right there, second drawer to the left. But like for us guys, sometimes we have trouble finding our belts for our pants. So like it's just the way that the best way that I could put it. Yeah,
we have trouble finding the wallet that is in your pocket
all the time.
Well, I must admit that I'm not that bad at that anymore. I think the kids have fixed me in that way.
Oh yeah,
because they misplace everything. So I'm like, I've become an expert at knowing where everything is. So I'm like, hey, I know that's the last time I saw it was right there, and usually that's the case. So there you go. That's kind of like evolution for you and what kids will do to you.
Oh wow, okay. Well, my youngest is not helping. Like he could have his slippers on his feet, and then afterwards we see him with no slippers, and we're like, where are they? Like, I don't know. Like, come on, you just had them 2 seconds ago. I don't know. Like, oh man, fine. And then everyone is searching except him. So it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, this is funny, man. It's happened with keys. Like there are certain situations where you lose your patience. Like, okay, where are the keys? We need the keys. It's like, man. Or the phone. It's like, man, it's like these are things that we can't lose, so it's funny, man. It's really, really funny. But yeah, man, I know you talk about some of these things in your book, and I want you to share with us as much as you can. Mm-hmm. First, what the book is about, and second, who should buy it and why.
Well, the book is not about I'll tell you what it's not about. It's not about like the diaper, which diaper cream you should take for your kid or how to make your kid fall asleep or whatnot. It's absolutely nothing like that. It's really like what the title says. It's how to be a right-hand man to your pregnant spouse. So the idea behind that is that one day while I was at work, my colleague, she was pregnant, and I had a friend of mine, two friends of mine who were pregnant. So jokingly, I said, you know what? One day I'm going to write a book for men, how to behave and navigate around pregnant women, because it was too many women around me that were pregnant, and I was walking on eggshell everywhere that I was going to.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, I decided to make the book for men because for them to understand that fatherhood does not begin, or like the sense of being the father figure doesn't begin once the kid is born. But as soon as you know that your spouse is pregnant, then you need to take on the role. You need to take charge on certain things, and it might not be the charge or the task that some man would think. Like, I'm talking about helping around the house. I'm talking about like taking more on your shoulders in order to allow your spouse to rest. Like something so silly as that. And what I did is that I made a survey with 35 women to ask them, or 35 mothers actually, to ask them what we were doing wrong. Because sometimes we think that we're doing everything right to our manly thinking, but then we're doing it all wrong. So I asked women who were pregnant, what were their experiences, what they believed that we do good, or what they felt that their husband did right or wrong. Some of the things were great. Some of the things were really bad. And I felt bad for some of the things that I read, but I put it all in the book. And I think this book is for men who are fathers, who are one day hoping to become fathers, and also for women to have a good laugh, a good read. So for sure, it's guided towards men, most likely. But also the beginning of the book is written by my wife, where she talks about when she was diagnosed with PCOS, and our whole journey from the initial doctor telling us, man, forget about having kids, but you guys can forget about it. If you have one, man, you guys are going to be ultra lucky, but two, you guys can forget about it. And they really told us that. But now, seeing that we have three, it's like, okay, we made it through this journey. So it's also a journey about faith, about hope. And there's a lot of good anecdotes. So yeah, I would say that explains a little bit of what the book is all about.
Wow, man. Yep, you've earned yourself another clapping
I'm
emoji.
at 3 now. I'm at 3.
Yeah, 3. Man, if only these were like, $1,000 bills.
Oh, man. I'd keep going there.
I know, man. But yeah, this is awesome, man. This is awesome. And congrats, man. Defying the odds, not once, but 3 times.
Yeah.
This is incredible, man. Man, this is a great story, man. So for sure, congrats. And I will definitely buy it, not only to support you, but because I know for a fact I will find value in it. And I know that just by having this conversation with you, that for sure I will enjoy it, man. So, and also I'm okay to say it in public, because this probably will not, by the time this airs, the news will probably have come out already, is that we're expecting our third. So round of applause, man. Yeah, I know, right? So I think this book will definitely help in this situation, and I'll use that time to read it.
Nice. All right. That's good, man.
Well, Max, man, I don't know how to thank you, man. It's been such a pleasure, just as I expected it, even more, even better. So thank you again for your time. Really appreciate that, man, and looking forward to more talks with you for sure. Yes. And keeping in touch.
Definitely.
And, yeah, man. And speaking of that, what's the best way for people to reach you?
All right. So the best way, I would say, would be on my Instagram at I am Max De La Cruz. And from that point, you will be able to be directed to either our family vlog that we do on a weekly basis. And also you will be able to see the episodes of the Man Cave podcast on my IGTV. I saved them all there. And soon there'll be also a link for the audio for you guys to also listen to the audio version of the podcast.
Very, very good, man. Thank you so much. You're a badass. Appreciate that. And we'll be in touch.
Yes, definitely, man.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you for listening to the Getting Social podcast. If you've made it that far, it means you probably liked it. In that case, leave us a review, subscribe, and please share it with a friend.